At its narrowest, it's just 33 kilometers wide. The shipping lane, barely 3 kilometers in either direction. And yet, this tight maritime corridor between Iran and Oman is the most important oil transit choke point in the world. This is the Strait of Hormuz. And what happens here affects the price of your petrol bill, your monthly gas bill, your flight tickets, and well, the global economy. The Strait of Hormuz links the Persian Gulf in the north with the Gulf of Oman to the south and the Arabian Sea beyond. It splits Iran on one side and Oman and the United Arab Emirates on the other. Every day, around 17.2 million barrels of oil, that is nearly a fifth of the world's oil, passes through this waterway. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, the UAE, Kuwait, and Iraq export most of their crude via this route. Qatar, the world's biggest LNG exporter, also sends it through the strait. According to the US Energy Information Administration, the Strait of Hormuz is the world's most important oil choke point. Choke points are narrow channels along widely used global sea routes that are critical to global energy security. The inability of oil to transit a major choke point, even temporarily, can create substantial supply delays and raise shipping costs, increasing world energy prices. How does it impact India? This narrow stretch of sea might seem far from India, but what happens there can directly impact your fuel bill, your businesses, and even your stock market investments. India is a net importer of crude oil. Over 40% of India's oil supplies comes from Gulf countries through this very route. A disruption here would spike crude prices. That means higher petrol, diesel, and LPG costs. And inflation would follow. Industries like airlines, transport, logistics, all of which run on fuel, would face rising costs. India also imports large quantities of LNG. Delays at the Strait of Hormuz could hit gas-based power plants and manufacturing industries. Even Indian exporters relying on these shipping lanes would suffer through freight increases, delivery lags, and reduced competitiveness. As we mentioned earlier, the Strait of Hormuz is the world's most important oil choke point. In 2022, 82% of the crude oil that passed through it went to Asian markets. China, India, Japan, and South Korea were the top destinations, together accounting for 67% of all oil and condensate that flowed through Hormuz in 2022 and the first half of 2023. This makes the strait not just a regional concern, but a global artery. And unlike other choke points, there is no real alternative. Most global choke points can be bypassed with longer routes. Since the outbreak of the war in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen have been attacking ships around the entryway into the Red Sea on the other side of the Arabian Peninsula. This has now proven out many of the exact capabilities and tactics that Iran could employ in the Strait of Hormuz. However, the Red Sea can still be bypassed, but there is no other outlet for commercial shipping from the Persian Gulf than the Strait of Hormuz. As such, Iran even attempting to blockade the waterway would present far further reaching regional and global implications that would draw responses on various levels from foreign powers around the world. Today, the risk of disruption is rising. As Israel and Iran continue to launch drone and missile attacks on each other, fears are mounting that Iran could restrict or block access to the Strait of Hormuz. It's not an empty threat. Iran has repeatedly used this as leverage in past conflicts, and now the risks are higher than ever. If the Strait of Hormuz is closed, even temporarily, it would shock the global oil market. Prices would surge, supply chains would rupture. This in turn has the potential to cause significant economic disruptions worldwide. Even Iran's allies like China, which imports significant amount of oil from the Middle East, would be impacted. And a blockade would likely provoke retaliation from the US, which has military assets in the region. Gulf Arab states might try to reroute oil exports across land, but not being able to leverage established facilities on the Persian Gulf would still have consequences. Even without a full shutdown, the mere threat of tankers being attacked or rerouted would be enough to spike insurance premiums, raise shipping costs, and unsettle global markets. The Strait of Hormuz may be just a narrow waterway, but its importance is vast, its vulnerability is real, and its stability critical to the world's energy and economic security. For countries like India, any instability here is more than a distant concern, it's a direct risk. As geopolitical tensions rise and global supply chains grow increasingly fragile, the question remains: what happens when one of the world's most vital trade routes becomes its most volatile? That's it for today's video. For more such videos, like and subscribe to The Hindu.